What's up, guys? So I'm making this video with the purposes of people, well, myself, wanting to have that front suspension on the ZX, and it needs it. The bike doesn't have any suspension, just like the OG, the S1, the Z, and I kept looking, kept asking, and Super73 basically has it on their website that the fork that they have, the air suspension fork that they have on their website right now currently will not work on the ZX. And it is true to a certain extent. I did order this fork together with the second one that I put on the 2018 OG. So I ordered two, and I had no idea that this was gonna be useful for this bike, but I was planning to use it for the Z1, and it became something that I was just like, should I put it on, should I not? And I just kept waiting and waiting. The ZX came out, and here we are. So a couple days ago, I took a ride to the LA River, and yeah, there were some bumps that really made me realize that I should really try to find the suspension for the bike. I felt every bump on the handlebars, and it was just not, it wasn't a pleasant ride. That being said, I came home, kept looking at this box through the day, through the night, and I kept thinking, like, it's gotta work. They just looked like the bars, the suspension bars look very similar size to the ones that are on the ZX. So I opened it up and I took off this part from the forks, and all it takes is taking off a screw from here, 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 and here, and then you just pull them out and you pull those off from here. Now when you do that, just be careful, because they would just slide out. There's no rubber, nothing in here that keeps them inside other than just being clamped with those screws. Once you take those out, you end up working with this. Now the tools that you're gonna need to get this done is basically gonna be a 5mm Allen wrench. This is my Allen wrench here, 5, and basically that takes care of all the screws. This one is a 15 to take off the wheel for the forks, and once you change the forks to this ones, the same thing happened to me with the OG. I had to get an adapter, a spacer, to mount the caliper, the brake caliper, back on, because for some reason the mounts for the caliper on these forks are just way shorter than the ones that are on the bike right now, and they just won't fit, they won't reach, so they hit the rotor and there's a lot of gap. So this will be something that you have to go get. This is a 180, so just keep that in mind, or else you won't have brakes. They won't fit at all. You won't be able to mount it. Okay, now we cover this part. Now we're gonna go to the bike, and I'll show you what's gonna happen at the bike. All right, guys, now that we covered that, I want to say one more thing. You do this at your own risk. If you mess up your bike, that's on you. Don't come commenting or coming after me or coming after Super73, because they say it on their website that the fork will not fit the bike. So the reason they say it won't fit is because of this here. The stem on the bike frame is just a lot wider, especially down here, and it just basically needs an adapter down here to make it fit. So what I did is I decided to measure this part of the fork, this bike that's on the bike now, and came out to be the same measurements as the other forks, the air suspension forks. And so what I did is I just removed the screws from here, and they just slide out, and I'll be showing you that right now. But again, you're doing this at your own risk. You do have to find the forks. You do have to purchase them from 73 or wherever you can find them from, and you will be able to do this. Luckily, I already had them. I did pay for them out of pocket. Nobody sponsored me, so but I mean, if you want to sponsor me, hey, that's more than welcome, and would be very, very greatly appreciated. But again, paid for all this out of my own pocket, my own money, and yeah. Again, this is all on you. If you want to do it, if you want to get that suspension on the bike, I know a lot of people want it, so this is why I'm doing this. So again, we'll loosen up this screws here. I had already loosened that one, and I had just this one up here that I need to loosen up. And they were not that tight because I had to loosen them up before the video. But yeah, see, as you see, they just simply slide out. Once you loosen up those two screws, they just slide down. And that's all it is. One long aluminum tube. Okay? So I won't be using this anymore. Thank you very much for your service for those couple rides that we did, but they were not too pleasant. Yeah, honestly guys, it's a totally different ride with that front suspension. It just feels like an S2. So once you loosen that up, they just slide right down. And that's it. Now, here's where I'm saying that you will need the adapter, because of this two mounts, they come out a little bit further out than the ones that are on the air forks. So this ones are able to reach with that. I think it's 180 millimeter rotor. Not too sure, I have to double check, but yeah, you'll need that adapter on the other forks. Okay, so simple as that. And thanks to my assistant, the bike is on the blur boundaries stand there, and it's helping me do all this work without having to balance the bike on my own, trying to hold it up. It really helps out. I've used it a couple times, especially when I did my OG. This is my OG, and I have those front air suspension forks, and they make a big difference on the ride. All right, so back to the forks. Again, you remove those. This is what you're left with. Okay, once you remove the four screws, it's four screws that you're removing. They just slide right out, and you're left with this. Okay, come here, and you don't need to grease it up or anything. They just basically, you just line up the holes and push them up, and try to be gentle, just so that you don't scratch them. There we go. And try to push them up evenly, especially when they get to the top. Try to make sure that they don't go too far up. You want to level them to the point where they basically are leveled right here at the top. They don't stick out too much. But that's just how I did it. Again, if you want to do something different with yours, that's fine, but that's what I did. All right, all you do is tighten them up top, bottom, and it's that simple, guys. They just slide in. You don't have to do anything crazy. I thought I was gonna have to like remove everything from the front, the handlebars and everything, but once I analyzed things and looked at it carefully, realized that all I had to do was loosen up those screws and slide out the forks, the old ones, and slide in the new ones. Now, I will say this: when you tighten these up, make sure that they're tight, because this is what's gonna be holding those forks from when you hit a bump. Whenever you hit a riding and you hit a bump, from this right here, this two clamps here is gonna hold the fork from sliding all the way up. So make sure that they're tight. I don't know, like the pressure that they need to be at of tightness. I don't know what you guys call that. I know that there's a special measuring tool for that, but I don't have that. And what I do all the time, every time I'm working with these screws, make sure that the Allen wrench key goes all the way in. Don't let it sit halfway in or halfway out, because then you will strip that screw and it's gonna suck later on, especially with the tires, with the mounts for the tires. Those you want to be very careful with. Okay. All right. Okay, guys. One thing I think I forgot to mention is that when you mount the forks here, once you go through the first bracket, don't forget to mount your rubber guards. This right here are the ones that you're gonna slide through the forks. Once they go through here, you put those on, and then you put the forks up to the top. Now those are very important, because those are the ones that keep the forks from slamming onto your frame. It doesn't allow the forks to scratch or dent your frame or damage it in any way, I guess, or keeping it from damaging it. So don't forget those. Forgot to mention that when I was mounting them on, but yeah, don't forget those. So that's pretty much it, guys. Now I'm gonna move forward to the mounting of the caliper and the wheel. The wheel, basically, you guys should know how to mount a wheel already. If you were able to take it off, same thing, putting it back on. Okay, this is where you're gonna be using that 15mm wrench and that spacer for the brake caliper. Okay. Okay, line them up to the fork. Normally what I do is once they're in the fork, I will hand tighten the nuts, just so that it stays in place, especially here because the tire's in the air. And then what I do is I'll drop it to the floor so that it levels out the tire, so it will be right in the center. Okay. All right. I didn't do it super tight, but that's what you want to do. Man, I'm so glad I got that blur boundary mount for the bikes, because I use it a lot because I take off the tires quite often. especially on my RX, if I go on an off-road ride, I'll throw it on the mount here, and it helps me hold the bike up like just like this, so I can take off the tires, put another set of tires on, and I don't have to have a second person or the bike upside down or on the floor. All right, so for the spacer, it goes like this, and this will allow for the caliper to mount properly. Now let me show you what I mean on why you need the spacer. All right, so let me see if I can get better lighting here. All right, so for the mounting of the caliper, you'll need that spacer that we talked about earlier. And the reason why you need it is because when you try to mount it directly onto this suspension forks here, it just won't reach. It goes straight, the rotor hits straight onto the back of the caliper here. So you need this spacer to be able to mount it. Okay. And this is necessary for whether you have aftermarket brakes, or if you're using the same mechanical brakes that you had before. Obviously I upgraded this ones to hydraulic. They were not cheap by any means. I was just like, should I put them, should I not? But I think it's a smoother ride when you're stopping, braking, when you have hydraulic brakes. This bike goes about 27, 28 miles per hour. So I figured, yeah, you do need to have hydraulic brakes. Okay. In here. And they're just easier to align onto the rotor rather than the mechanical ones. Those I hate working with those mechanical ones. They're hard to make them sit properly. They're always, if you don't do it correctly, they're always grinding, and when you're stopping they make all this noise. So if you can upgrade to hydraulics, do it. You'll be a lot happier with hydraulic brakes. Alright guys, now that the caliper is back on, the way you will align them so that there's no noise, no rubbing of the brake pads onto the rotor is, once you have it mounted, you're going to squeeze the lever, and with the lever squeezed, it aligns it by itself. Well, not by itself, but because you're squeezing it. But as you're squeezing the lever, you will tighten up the bolts here all the way. Keep squeezing the lever and tighten the bolts, and once you're done, make sure that they're tight. Again, make sure that the Allen wrench goes all the way inside the screw here. You don't want to strip them. It becomes a lot harder later on when you're trying to take them off. Alright, now you can let go of the lever and you spin the wheel just to see if it clears it. It's clean, no noise. But that's pretty much it, guys. The bike now has the front suspension, and the way you work this forks is that you take off this cover here, and you need a special pump. you'll need a special pump. You can't just use those pumps that you use for your bike. You can't connect those. You can connect the other pumps, but they have a different pressure gauge for the forks. You'll need one of these. This one is from RockShox. And just connect this through to here, and you set it at the PSI level according to your weight. When you order the forks, it'll give you that guidance. Sometimes I don't follow those guidance because those guidance make the forks very, very stiff, and that defeats the purpose of having the front suspension. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. The fork is on. You run your wire according how you want to have it, and I put the front brake lever onto the right side here, and that way now I have it on the right, and then I'm waiting on the rear one to arrive in a couple days, so I can have the rear hydraulic brake system on it too. I still have the mechanical ones. The reason I did this also is because the cable on the front one snapped, and since that happened, I just went ahead and put hydraulics. Yeah, guys, so thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing to the channel, share the video, like the video. It helps a lot. It helps the channel grow. I do a lot of things where, you know, people have done already before, but they haven't posted a video, and I end up doing it, and I'll post a video. I'm not copying them, but I just feel like people want to do the same thing to their bikes, and so I go ahead and I do a video. But again, I haven't seen anyone do this yet. I have seen somebody but in Europe, but they didn't go in detail about it. So, and I'm not sure how they did it or where they got their forks from, but yeah, I got mine from Super73. I think they're still available. If you guys are gonna get it, I would go ahead and do it right away, because after this a lot of people might be trying to get them, and they've been out for a while, so there might not be that many left. I don't know. I don't have any direct affiliations with them or in any way, so this, I don't know if it's gonna void your warranty, but it's worth it, in my opinion. They should have done this already out of the box when they shipped them out, I guess. Then you got your bike, they should already have had this. I mean, the bike is already a $2,000 bike. Does it need it? Yes. Does it need a better battery? In my opinion, yes. The bike is already super light. The battery claims to give you 37 miles range, but in reality it's like 20. And I guess it depends on the terrain that you're riding on, or your weight, how fast you're riding the entire time. Are you using throttle the entire time? Are you using pedal assist at all? In my experience, I've used pedal assist, and I've had to just use pedal assist level 4 the entire time, because 1, 2, and 3, I feel like it's not doing anything. I don't know if there's an issue with my sensor there, or with the motor, or the system. I didn't get to do an update when I got the bike. Some people say they got an update as soon as they turned it on. It required them to do an update. I didn't get that. Maybe they got that torque update and I didn't. But the bike is fun. With the front suspension, it's a little bit more fun. I will say this one other thing. I did measure the original fork that it had to this one, and they're the same length. The only difference again is the size in here. So I left this on and I left this on. I didn't take that off just in order to make it work. I just removed the screws here, loosen them up, and slide them in. And you guys saw that. But now I'm just rambling. But thank you guys again. Really appreciate you guys watching. Please subscribe, like the channel, and if you want to get a Z, you want to get an RX, you want to get an S2, an S1, or any bike from Super73, there's a link down in the subscription, and you can get $100 off. Helps me out, helps me get to do more of these videos, and it helps me grow. Thank you guys, really appreciate it. Again, hit that like button and subscribe.